Does Mike Vrabel know what he's getting into? Because if Mike Vrabel is operating under the assumption that the Patriots are what they were when he played here, boy, is he wrong. It is totally changed. It's not like this everywhere else. Is now a negative because other places are better. So I would just tell him that whole thing about the Patriots being different than everyone when they had Brady and Belichick was absolutely true. Mike Vrabel last played here in 2008.
That's right.
Okay, 2008. That was a hell of a long time ago. Brady hasn't been here in 5 years. The organization has deteriorated. I would just say to Mike Vrabel, if I were someone that was close to him, don't be hung up on what you think they are. When you talk to them, ask a lot of questions because the Patriots aren't the same anymore. It's another reason to be a little, to approach this with some trepidation if you are a Vrabel fan, because his perception of what they might be might not be real anymore.
Are you saying, in other words, who's interviewing who?
Correct. It's a good way to put it. I saw that in your notes.
Who's interviewing who?
Right. And really, Vrabel should be interviewing the Patriots, not the other way around.
Yeah, but the dysfunction has leaked onto the field here in the last 4 or 5 years, so he's got to know that it's some kind of mess.
I know, Murray, but when a guy plays in a place and has success there is inevitably some sort of romanticism that goes along with that, and the idea that, boy, I would love to get back to that and what that represented. What he wants is no longer here, or what he remembers is no longer here.
But he also knew it was a crock at the end. Remember, like, even when, he was traded, and before that talking about, pointing at the Hall of Fame, and obviously he was openly talking about how the money was being spent, so he knows that the whole Patriot way was a bunch of BS.
I understand. He's smart enough to sort of, I think he's sharp like that.
But in his time, it was a fully functioning operation.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And I guess I would say if you asked Bill Belichick back in, 2016, how it was in 2014, how it was in New England, overall, he would say, well, yeah, pretty good overall. I mean, we have our moments, but, it works. You ask him at the end, not so much.
Well, so that comment about it's not like this everywhere else, don't take it for granted. I think he said that in part to take a shot at the Titans because
absolutely he did.
That was at the end there, and he was sort of going back and forth with ownership and all of that. So I think that was a shot, very much like, say Bill Belichick going to a foreign or another team's training facility and saying, "Oh my God, look at the training facility." So I think it was along those lines. I don't know exactly what Vrabel knows or doesn't know, but I definitely would frame it as who's interviewing who and who has more to prove at this point. And while I still believe, and I've told you this for weeks, that the Patriots are a desired job, and it is still a highly sought-after job, I think people mistake that into believing it's a good situation or that everything's running well and people want a piece of something that's running well. That's not what that means. It's a good opportunity because of the upside and the perception of ownership still being good NFL owners versus what's out there. And so, in a lot of respects, it's better for a coach to take over a losing team than a winning team. That's, as long as there's resources at your disposal to make it better. That's sort of the ideal spot. You take over a distressed asset. That's what any investor does. Distressed assets, buy low, sell high. That's why, or a big reason why it's a desirable location. I still believe that. But I tie in your take, Mazz, with reading another takeout story today from Andrew Callahan and Doug Kyde in the Herald on the dysfunction and where it went wrong with Gerard Mayo and the New England Patriots. And, these stories are now starting to come out. I'm still waiting for the real meaty, salacious details. I don't know if I'm going to get them now because Callahan and Kyde took a crack at it and Jack Graff and The Athletic took a crack at it. So I don't know if I'm going to get those really nitty-gritty details. There's some good stuff in here, but not that, that real gotcha sort of story. All I know is, Mazz, that these stories are dropping now today, this week, a week after we had a whole nother spate of stories drop. Most notably, Seth Wickersham and Ray Thompson on ESPN about the final year of Bill Belichick and infighting between Belichick and John Kraft and the fear of Robin Glazier taking over, and Gerard Mayo circling around the whole thing as if he was above it, twirling his baseball bat in team meetings, and all the dysfunction that was wrought between Belichick, John Kraft, and the undercurrent of Gerard Mayo taking over, and never mind Bill O'Brien and that whole mess, which came a year after these great stories about all the infighting and dysfunction that existed with Patricia and Joe Judge, and Patricia trying to implement an offense that he didn't know, and players asking him, well, what happens if the defense adjusts, and him saying, I'll get back to you on that because he didn't have the answers, and Joe Judge coaching across positions, and other coaches then walking over to players and saying, ignore everything that guy just told you, and all the dysfunction between Patricia and Judge and that whole thing, which followed the stories the year before about Brady and Belichick and the breakup of Brady and Belichick and what happened there. And we're not just talking about now 5 years since Brady left, Maz. Murray would do constantly, it's another Patriots bleep storm. Remember? All this stuff.
Of course.
So we're going back now maybe 6-7 years.
2017, I think, is really where you could start.
Where it's been constant. Whether it's Brady, Belichick, Brady, Belichick, Belichick, Mac Jones, Patricia, Judge, Mac Jones, Belichick, Bill O'Brien being forced on him, Bill O'Brien, Gerard Mayo. Now it's Gerard Mayo v. Alex Van Pelt, Gerard Mayo v. Elliott Wolf. This has been going on now for not just 3 years, not just 5 years. We're going back to why won't he let the trainer fly on the D, and the trainer's locking out Jimmy Garoppolo, and now he's not allowed on the team plane, and Bill wants to win without Tom Brady, and Tom's been asking for a contract, and they won't give it to him. But do you feel underappreciated, Tom? I plead the fifth. Now we're going back 6, 7, 8 years. What's the one constant?
Crafts.
What's the one constant? So Belichick is gone, people. They're still not spending. The infighting still exists. The backstabbing still exists. The losing is getting worse. What's the one constant? Can we blame Belichick? Can we blame Brady? Can we blame Brady Belichick? Can we blame Patricia and Judge? Can we blame Bill for Patricia and Judge? Can we blame Mac Jones? Do I blame Gerard Mayo or Elliott Wolf? Do I blame Alex Van Pelt and the Green Bay Mafia that's there between Wolf and Van Pelt and Ben McAdoo and Alonzo Highsmith, the Green Bay Mafia after Gerard Mayo, and Gerard Mayo getting written out? So who do I blame on that one? It's constant. And there is only the dysfunction is constant, and there's only one constant over that time. What is it?
Ownership.
It's ownership. It's ownership.
Yeah, it is. Again, you've had all those changing variables, and it's never gotten any better. In fact, I would argue it's gotten worse. Really.
It's absolutely getting worse.
So it has deteriorated little by little, year after year, to the point where we can rattle off those lists that we were talking about earlier in the week. 5 coordinators, it'll be 6 in 6 years, or 5 in 5 years. I've lost count going into next season. 3 head coaches, 6 quarterbacks in 5 years. It is. It's all over the place. It's unstable.
I've clipped it, and I'll read it. I mean, I'll read you excerpts from today's Andrew Callahan story. I'll read you excerpts from last year's Seth Wickersham piece on the final year of Bill Belichick. I'll read you excerpts from Andrew Callahan and Karen Garesian's story on Patricia and Judge the year before. I'll go back to Seth Wickersham's stories on the last years of Brady Belichick. And if I just read you an excerpt, you would say, what year is this? It all sounds exactly the same.
Just the names are different.
Yeah, right.
So it's not that they were, so when Vrabel was here and called that out, Murray, in 2008, that's different. That was a CBA thing. That was a players union management thing. Okay, so that was Mike Vrabel calling out the Patriots and NFL owners, really.
It was a macro thing.
For hiding revenue, and you're not sharing, you only claim football revenue, but I'm looking at the mall around me. Where did this thing come from? And do we see a piece of this? So that wasn't, internal Patriot stuff. That was labor. Different topic. Back then, Vrabel was in a highly functioning operation.
He was.
And there wasn't, I'm sure with Bill there was always some layer of crap because he's so sensitive and insular and paranoid. And so I'm not telling you it was perfect in 07 and 03, 04, 05, the Vrabel years, but night and day from what it is here. Like this is what every bad franchise is in the NFL.
Yeah, and part of me thinks that Mike, look, he's not dumb. I'm not telling you Mike Vrabel's dumb. I'm telling you this would happen to any human being. When you have a good experience somewhere, it sort of becomes part of you. You start to associate that place with the good times. And I think he does that. How could he not? It was wildly successful when he was here. The thing worked great. I would try to drill into his head if I were someone close to him. It's not like that anymore. You have the power.
So as Florio just said at the end of the cut, we think things are a slam dunk until they're not. I have no doubt that Vrabel was earmarked here. I have no doubt that they've had their sights set on him. I have no doubt that they've already talked. There's nothing prevented them from talking. And that this is the guy and supposed to be the guy. But there's no slam dunk until there's a slam dunk. If they're going to dick around with Elliott Wolf still being here and put that as part of the conversation for Mike Vrabel, they're playing with fire. And no guarantee. It just in the last couple of minutes, the Raiders have fired GM Tom Telesco after one season. So now the Raiders have completely cleared the deck for whoever they would be bringing back.
I mean, the rumor is Vrabel wants his own GM, so that feels like...
Everyone wants their own GM.
Yeah.
There's not a coach out there that wouldn't want their own hand-picked guy picking players. That's what you only accept the previous guy if you have no other options, or it's your first time, or by some miracle you just do actually really like the guy. But that's rare. Usually, again, Bill's not the only one who's insular and paranoid and all that, siloed. Most of these coaches are. They want my guy. That's my guy. That's not my guy. I need my guy. Well, that's not my guy. That's like how they all talk. So Vrabel's going to want his guy, I think. And if the Crafts still insist on these half measures, setting up more of the dysfunction, because there is no question that Elliott Wolf and his group has been shivving Gerard Mayo. No question about it. And there's no question that Gerard Mayo went behind Belichick's back and on and on and on and on and on. That's how it's been going there now for years. And I'm talking the Brady years too. I do wonder if Vrabel knows what he's getting into. I do wonder because it wasn't quite like that in those Vrabel years. The early 2000s, they were a machine.
Yeah, the chain of command was very clear. The lines were all well drawn.
So it's really the last couple of years of Brady into now has been one continuous pig bleep. It just has. And I wonder if he knows it. And, oh, by the way, they owe it to the new guy and the team to blow all that out and, essentially give it to one guy, but a new regime that is on the same page and hopefully put to bed all this stuff that they've been dealing with now for years and years and years.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.